Are you a book lover or enthusiast? Do you need genuine and unique lifestyle products? Or are you looking for a place where you can find contemporary and a wide range of unique gifts for children and adults? Laterna is your go-to place for genuine and contemporary books and lifestyle products for wholesale and retail customers. We stock business books on management, leadership, financial success, entrepreneurship, personal development, and so much more. We carry children's fiction, non-fiction, educational books, CDs, and DVDs. We also stock Christian books on various themes such as church life and growth, spirit-filled living, love, sex, and marriage, to mention but a few. Laterna carries life and style books such as baby and child care, beauty and style, conception and pregnancy, crafts, and hobbies. We also carry adult, children, and teenagers' Bibles, educational toys, framed art, gifts, greeting cards, home and office fragrances, stationery, teachings, and lots more. Our stores are located at plot 1611 Adiola Hopewell Street, Victoria Island, Lagos. Online at www.laternabooks.ng. Laterna, your lifestyle hub for book lovers. For inquiries, call 0803 301 4462, 0809 525 3223, 0809 525 3484, or 0809 525 3485. Chat with us via WhatsApp on 0810 023 4441. You may also reach us on social media via Twitter at Laterna Books, Instagram at Laterna Books, and Facebook at Laterna Ventures.
So, what are you, Mr. Author? Dele Ogun. Pleasure meeting you again.
Good morning. Thank you all very much. I hope you can hear me clearly enough. All right, good. Well, let's get straight to it. Why this and why now? You get the answer from the synopsis at the back. It's a very short synopsis as to what the book is about. Culprits, the people and the paper that made Nigeria. It was said of the Briton who founded Nigeria, quotes, he possesses that quality, which is the first, the best, and I should not very greatly exaggerate if I even said the only essential to the successful government of native races, the power to make them act in their own way, under their own leaders, and of their own free will, but in the direction in which he wishes them to go, end quotes. Indirect rule is an ancient political concept dating back before Christ to the Roman Emperor, Augustus Caesar. This is the story of its modern application in the creation story of Nigeria, from its birth on 1st of January 1900 to the end of the war on 15th of January 1970, by which it was rebirthed. Now, 15th of January, we're just around the corner. Here we are on is it the 19th or it's the 17th today? So 15th of January was just around the corner. And you will have seen all the narrative coming back again. Every year anniversary. This one concerns what I call the first constitutional conference that Nigeria had. They made available to certain ethnic groups that changed the balance of power in the space. That's what led to all the madness that we've been experiencing. And once again, they've shown their their barbarism. You see what's been happening in Ukraine. You see what's been happening in the Middle East. Systematic daily slaughter. That's their way of life that they exported to us. But the thing about them is that they know they may fight today, but they're collaborating tomorrow. So the French and the English have had so many wars. I lost count. Some 7 years war, others 30 years war. But our own one, we now say it's fight until kingdom come. And what are we fighting over? We're naturally a good-spirited people. So the scope for collaboration is only it needs a new class of leadership who want to get the best out of our young people. Not for ourselves, but for them. So the collaboration at the African level, the process begins in November. And Africa has been looking to Nigeria for leadership. In November, we'll be showing the way because it is the University of Lagos that will be hosting them. And people will be coming in from Africans in America, will be Africans in the Caribbean, will be, and we will not disappoint.
Thank you, Wazinga, sir. Well, I have my doubt when it comes out, we will not disappoint. Because we had at a point wanted to create United States of Africa. And it was in an OAU summit. And we knew how that summit ended. And we know what happened to that leader eventually. Maybe it's this conspiracy and everything that led to it. But that's the question for another day. I will take another question from the audience and I will read something from the book. Okay.
Can you take one from online?
It was about the somebody has a question. Okay.
I do.
Can Mr. Ugo please mention the concept of transitional arrangement to enable Nigeria and Africa welcome and accept change, e.g. taxations, so losers are supported? Yes, because that taxation thing, that's I'm a finance person, so I got interested in taxation. And because from what you're telling us that all our taxes, the way they tax us, especially when they came to get the Egba people, were ruling themselves. So they now create a direct tax system. And today, we have a new tax reform that the government decided that, we don't want to have tax reform again. But they still have that value-added tax, company tax, all those. In short, we have more levies than taxes. So, are we now, this current tax reform, are you saying that it's still not our own tax reform? Because we sat down, we had a tax committee, they sat down, even the governors have even decided that it will not work. And they now support it with 50, 30, 20, which I talked about yesterday on TVC, it has made it a political tax reform. It's no more a tax reform because the politician has hijacked it. Because the colonial tax reform that we had was based on equality. The center take all and share. The new tax reform that we're planning to have was to be based on your consumption. If Lagos is producing the environment for us to consume, Lagos will enjoy the benefits more than Kano. If Lagos is giving us room to do betting and take alcohol, and Kano is destroying alcohol and not allowing betting, Kano should not enjoy from the value-added tax. But like I said, a political solution has come. So it's already, like I said before then, said it on one of my programs, once it becomes a political solution, it's dead. They only think of themselves. So Now, what I'm saying is that, go back to what I said before. Do you not think that we have our own problem? Because we are now having a tax reform that was supposed to come from us, because President Tinubu told us that most of the taxes that we have were drawn from colonial era. So let's improve it. And here we are, we still have company tax. Then we are not getting from them because we want to tax the wealthy more. If you earn above 1 million, your tax has gone to, I think, 25%. So, do you still think we can sit down and decide to? That's my question. Excuse me, sir, before you talk, I want just the last, because we're running. So if you want to ask us question, we'll just take number of people that will take the question. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And please make your question very brief so that they can give us there. We're already running out of time. We're supposed to just do 1 hour. So, okay, sir.
Well, I did say that give me your hardest question. You give me a very easy question on taxation. Because those who know me, the lawyers here, know that I was a corporate tax lawyer in the City of London for many, many years. And so the philosophy of taxation is something that is second nature. But let me start first with, can we still say it is?
Have you seen our own tax reform bill?
Do you know tax laws in the United Kingdom? The tax legislation in the United Kingdom, you pile probably another 10 volumes of this book. It will reach here.
No, what I'm asking, have you read our own?
They do it. I don't need to read it. I know what they do. It is actually a simpler version of what I've been dealing with over the years. But the point that I want to make is this. Firstly, your point about, is it us doing it to ourselves, which is what you just touched on. Let me start there. Because all of these taxes that they are piling on, it assumes that the genesis of it is the Constitution, the constitutional arrangement that we're running under. The reason why we're able to say it is still them doing us, not us doing it to ourselves, is that nobody saw that Constitution. We don't have a Constitution. We don't. If we have a Constitution between us, all of us in this room will sit down and we will review the drafts, and we will know at the end of the exercise, through compromises and negotiations.
We have 1999 Constitution.
I'm telling you that as a lawyer who drafts these documents, when you put a name, it's like, just give me the name.
Well, every part of Nigeria was represented in that conference.
So there was no conference. Let me tell you as a fact that there was no conference, conference of the nationalities of Nigeria. Have you ever come across any conference of the nationalities of Nigeria, out of which the 1999 document emerged?
You know, when you talk about nationality in Nigeria, when you mention that name, nationality, but to the average Nigerian or to our leadership is separation.
Is what?
Separation.
How they look at it is neither here nor there. The question is, I've mentioned that there are 371 ethnic groups that make up Nigeria. Those are realities. And if you're going to have a constitution, their voice must be reflected, big or small. Now, I don't want to spend too long on that, but take it as a fact that even the candidates in the 1999 election, who ran on the basis of that constitution, hadn't seen it before they contested for office. So lawyers drafted To this day, we don't even know from where. They produced a document, put in everything that they wanted, and gave it the name, as we lawyers do when we draft a document. The document must have a name. It's like a child, it must have a name. So the name that was given to this document was the Constitution of Nigeria in 1999. Does that make it the Constitution of Nigeria? No. But every group has a working document. Even the mafia have a working document. Check. That this is the code of conduct. Anybody who steps out of line, this is how you be dealt with. So the fact that they've named it, christened it, they can even use holy water to go and christen it, doesn't make it the Constitution, the handiwork of the people. So as long as that is not the case, it is not us doing it to ourselves. It is them, the gang, who are doing it to us. But let me go to the substantive point about taxation. In the book, I talked about the Egba uprising, the Adibi War. What was that about? It's because Lugard was introducing the taxation system that they had in them. He was now seeking to impose it on the Egba people. And there was an uprising amongst them. No taxation without representation. The reality of Nigeria and all these fancy taxes that they constructed, it is taxation without representation. Because if your votes do not count, if they conduct elections and the result is whatever a panel of judges, because that's what it's become now. Because INEC and Co can't do the job properly, then the matter goes to courts, and an electorate of maybe millions of people, they are pushed aside. 5 judges in white wigs sit there, and they decide who the winner is and who the loser is. That is taxation without representation. You see, all they're doing with all these taxes is carrying on what the colonial Confucianists were doing, which is extracting resources from the land of the people without the people having any say. It's just the coercive powers of the states that are then used to force you to pay those taxes, just as Lugard did back then. So that is the answer to it. You have no constitution, and what you have is taxation without representation.
Thank you, sir. So let me have your question. Next question.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ogun, and thank you so much. This has been insightful and refreshing. My one question is very simple. Are the architects still behind the mask today? Because it's one thing, you talked about succession, and it's easy to make the assumption that they handed over. But who did they hand over to? Did they hand over to black faces behind the black mask? Or are there still white faces behind that mask? Or maybe even Asian faces? Or who's the face behind the mask today? Thank you.
A very good question, which is addressed substantially by this point that I make in the book. 1st of October 1960, what we say was Independence Day. You grant independence. Independence is something that you win, not something that's granted to you. When it's granted to you, it's granted on the term of the grantor. It's like a landlord giving you permission to occupy the property. It's on those terms. So 1st of October 1960, we were singing and dancing and hailing independence. But the head of the army, the Nigerian army, until February 1965, was the Briton. Right through, the head of the army. And the anchor, the linchpin of the independence, is your ability to defend yourself. So what kind of independence did we have when the head of the army was still a Brit up to February 1965? That's 11 months before that first coup. As I explained in the book, the Biafra War was a proxy war. Now with Ukraine happening, you get a real understanding of what a proxy war is. Ukrainians don't make those weapons. It's supplied to them. The tactics, some of the equipment that they're given, they can't even use it. Proxy war. Now, who is still behind the mask? The answer is that there is still a mask, because we haven't, it's only now through these writings that we're beginning to understand how the thing works. Now, they are faceless people. The thing about the British, whatever they do is recorded somewhere. In the beginning, the opening of the book, there's a short passage that will explain why the mask is still there. This is right at the beginning, the author's notes. July 30th, 2007, BBC Radio 4 Documents Program advertised an episode titled Rigging Nigeria. Mike Thompson investigates claims that British colonial officials helped rig Nigeria's pre-independence elections to ensure that a pro-UK party won. The allegations center on the Cold War days of 1960, when fears were growing that communism was gaining ground in Nigeria, a country where oil had only recently been discovered. 2 top secret files from the time are being kept closed for 100 years. Documents, that's the name of the program, calls for them to be released under the Freedom of Information Act. Could it be that Britain taught Nigeria all it knows today about fixing the polls? 100 years from 1960. That's 2060. You guys will still be waiting. I say you because I know I won't be here. But the younger ones amongst you, maybe some of you will make it to 2060 when that box will be open concerning the independence or so-called independence of this country. The mask is still in place. That's the point that I want everybody to go away with. That when you hear some of our, how should I describe it? Miseducated, the ones who have swallowed the narrative of the culprits that we are to blame, take responsibility. The only thing we can take responsibility for is to find the available evidence and help our people to understand what is really going on.
Thank you, sir. I'm coming, sir. I will follow. Sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dele. My name is Victor Egba. From the Nigerian Law School. I represent the new generation, and every time we talk about colonial history, there seems to be an extra effort to transmit the resentment that we in this era do not seem to connect with, because our idea of colonialism is literary because we have to read it, but we've seen practical aspects, oppression even within this generation. We've seen people in power try to oppress others. We've seen holders of offices of influence trying to divert and commit the same crimes that they have taught us to hold against the colonial masters. So we do not appreciate the history because we do not see any difference between those people who are in charge right now and those who were there, who were not even Africans. So there's a divide, there's an emotional detachment from our history, and there's an animosity now that is built on the present power players. So I am not angry at the invaders as much as I am angry at the people who are still oppressing me right now. And so when they tell me that I should be angry at the colonial masters, I don't want to understand why. So in our quest to redefine our nation's history, how are we looking at encouraging young people to think that it is important to understand their history and to commit to redefining their history. And because a lot of my friends who have also graduated have left the country, and they were very passionate people who wanted to be part of this country, but they've seen the forces of the country that's what they can experience. That's their own history they can connect with. So if we want to encourage a Pan-African perspective, that's the way forward. How do we bridge the animosity that is not even towards the colonial history, but towards the present oppressive forces that we can experience and relate with as a new generation? Thank you.
Doctor, okay, Mr. Dele, hope you get the question he's trying to say. I think in a nutshell, it's talking about connecting the dot line between their generation, the history that you are telling them, because their own generation is you're saying the colonial people are the one that are enslaving us, and right in their own faces, their own leaders or their own people are the one oppressing them, and most of their own generation are now leaving this land to the people you say is oppressing them, and they've better life there than even staying in where they are supposed to be free. So I think, did I get your question?
Yeah, thank you for that synopsis, and thank you for the question. We live in a competitive world, and it remains the case that Africa's most valuable resources is a human capital. The potential between our ears, that is the ultimate wealth. But the strategy of the colonial confusions has been to sterilize that capacity insofar as our people on the ground are concerned. That's why they created a structure, a governance order that promotes the worst and subjugates the best, frustrating those ones and their children, such that that human potential would now leak out. It will leak out to the West, where those very same resources will now be harnessed and become part of their own operations. Take, for example, the current leader of the British Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch. I don't blame her entirely. Why? Because would Nigeria political system and governance system have allowed her to reach the levels that she has reached over there? Because this system was designed to frustrate ability, sterilize ability. They would then flow out and they would just grab it. And it's not even just in terms of academia. Look at Saka, the Arsenal boy. Each time I see him wearing the England shirt rather than the Super Eagles, I don't blame him, because the governance system that they've left us with is designed to frustrate talent, stifle opportunity, to the point that those capabilities are then available for use there. Now, you've talked about the anger being directed at the colonial confusionists. But what the colonial confusionists did, which is what I explained in the book, they appointed their local agents. All these ones who are not governing properly are merely local agents of the colonial confusions. The constitutional arrangements was designed to allow those ones through when better material is available. And those ones, they run to Chatham House and read their accounts. And so long as they're governing, staying in line, in the terms of the unwritten partnership between them, they are applauded and serenaded. It was no different from what happened during the slave trade. there were always some who could be co-opted to play the role that the externals wish them to play. There'd be the overseers of the slave plantation. That could be even more wicked than the enslavers themselves. History doesn't change. This is why history is such an important subject. Because once you understand human nature, governance systems, and the human story, you will recognize the symptoms in your presence. There's nothing new to be invented. It's just a question of understanding how did they do it there? And can I recognize the symptoms in my own environment? And as it was solved over there, so it will be solved. The solution's on its way.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll I want to say doctor again. Okay, you will just take the two. You can answer it at a go, so that we're really running out of time.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My first question is from what you were saying earlier when I was talking about the amalgamation of Nigeria. From what you said it was a calculative business decision to put the whole of the ethnics together, regardless of the language barrier, the personality barrier. But now I see a lot of people advocating for Africa to be one, to work together. But if the amalgamation of 371 ethnic groups is not worked properly, like it is in Nigeria, what's your take on Africa? Because I lived in South Africa for so many years, and a lot of black people in South Africa don't even buy the idea of Africans working together. Some are even xenophobic towards each other, saying, we're better than you, we're better than that. What's your take? Do you think it's gonna work? Because already Nigeria is not working with everyone being. Do you think Africa would work being one together? That's my question. Thank you.
I'll say Nigeria is not working. Nigeria is working, work in progress. Because that you can even talk now, that means Nigeria is working.
I think my question is a simple question. I've read bits of the book, finished the book before this meeting today. I didn't. What I learned is that all the history that I know is a lie. And I know that, people, in Christianity, they say don't look. Yeah. But if you don't look back, you don't have an identity. So the simple question, this is a book, but this is not a book. Are there books that elementary books that we can put through our curriculum? And that we need to start teaching people the truth, and that material should be written by us coming from this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I have some online questions. Are they there? How many? Okay, let's finish. Let's see what I'll come and check it. Why? So can you just answer this?
Yes, let me deal with those two very good questions quickly. The first regarding PAN. I agree with you. 371 ethnic groups that each had their own governance systems before the colonial intrusion, each with their own heroes, each with their own languages and culture. And then you are thrown in together to struggle for one seat. We've seen the results in Nigeria. He has destroyed and arrested potential. Where we are is not where we should have been individually. To now escalate that to a United States of Africa is lunacy. That's as much as I'll say on it. It is lunacy. Governance is similar to running a company. it should not outstrip, the scale of your operations should not outstrip your governance and management capability. Managing even the smallest of our ethnic groups is difficult enough. To scale up, to now lump 371 together, and you're looking for a superman or a superwoman, to then say you want to do that on an Africa-wide basis, again, I say is lunacy. But there is the Orange Union. I don't call it Pan-African. I call it Africanism. Because what it is, to where we were. Not trying to create a Tower of Babel. Is it Babel they call it in the Bible? And you want to reach the heavens by lumping everybody together. But respecting diversity, just as the Europeans had notes. After all, Britain is the constructor of empire. But what happened in Brexit? If that source is good for the Africans, why is it not for the Europeans? Let them just have one president and have one man, one vote. Let's see what happens. It can never. Even in Britain itself, you have your Scottish Parliament, you have the Welsh Assembly for the Welsh, the Northern Ireland Assembly, etc. Now, turning to my friend Deji's question. You see, they've dribbled up. And we Nigerians, when it comes to football, we're hard. But when it comes to affairs of the mind, so easily dribble. So they were telling us, look forward, not back. Whereas their own philosophy, given to their leader, Winston Churchill, he is famous. The further back you look, the further ahead you will stay.